Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. And I'm here today with Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and she's got a new book out. Welcome back to High Road to Humanity, Sharon.
Thank you. It's always wonderful to join you, Nancy.
Well, we're going to have a really great conversation today. You guys, this is a show you're definitely going to want to share. We're going to talk about know the name, know the health. And I have to say, I think this is Sharon's best book. I've only read the first chapter, but it is amazing. And it all goes, we're going to talk about this today. And before I even get into my little news clips, let me just read you something from the book that I thought was really cool. It is when all three levels, gut feelings and mind, are ignored that the body reaches out to communicate with us in a way that cannot be ignored forever. The body then yells through the disease state, "Are you listening now?" Our bodies love us and wish to stay healthy so that we can thoroughly enjoy our lives. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about our health and our bodies. So this is going to be a fun show. I'm really excited that you're here. Before we get into it, though, let me just say, I had pulled up a couple of things that were pretty crazy. As the UK considers new restrictions, the government is accused of flouting rules last Christmas. Oh my, this came from London. For a week, Prime Minister Boris Johnson of Britain has denied damaging claims that his staff broke lockdown rules by holding a party last Christmas. Oh my goodness. When such festivities were banned under government-imposed coronavirus restrictions. So late Tuesday, the government's story weakened when a video surfaced of senior staff members joking about just such a party 4 days after they had reportedly gathered to eat snacks, drink wine, and play party games in Downing Street. The revelations have shaken Mr. Johnson's government, coming just as Britain and the rest of the world enter a second holiday season battered by the emergence of a new variant and faced by anger and frustration from exhausted citizens. I won't go on, but I just thought that was kind of practice what you preach. We see this a lot, don't we? Gosh, everybody's partying, they don't have any mask on. What's going on with that? What do you think, Sharon? You want to say
They
anything?
want to come back to what they consider normalcy, right? But I always think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you're going to do it, then all of us need to be able to do it.
I agree. The only other thing I wanted to bring up really quick, I had to say, this is the headline. Supreme Court is to decide whether states can refuse to pay for religious education. And the Supreme Court on Wednesday will consider whether states that give money to parents for their children's high school tuition can exclude offering a religious education. In recent years, the court have been especially receptive to claims of religious discrimination. It ruled last year that when states make tuition money generally available, they cannot exclude schools that are run by religious institutions. In that case involving a school program in Montana, some justices questioned whether there was a meaningful difference between discrimination based on a school's religious status and that based on a school's use of government money to teach religion. See, that's where the little hang up is. We acknowledge the point, but need not examine it before the ruling. So they're going to rule on this. I guess they'll rule on it by June is what it says in here. I won't read the whole thing. There's a whole article. You guys can check it out. But yeah, I mean, come on. I think they're trying to just find a little hang up so they don't have to fund the religious schools. What do you think?
Well, they haven't funded them in the past in most states. It's like your taxes go to pay for public schools. And if you want to go to any kind of a private school, then you pay for that yourself. And so last year when the Supreme Court came out and said, hey, if we're giving tuition to everybody, you can also use it for any school of your choice. That was actually a huge step forward so that parents weren't getting double penalized. So now it's like they're wanting to renege on that, but we'll see what happens.
I hope they don't renege because anyway, that's my feeling on that one. So, just so you guys know, Sharon's been with us before, but she's an internationally acclaimed nemologist and an award-winning author who specializes in guiding people by leading them towards more purposeful lives and helping them towards more meaningful social interactions in their business and interpersonal relationships. Gosh, I have to say, this book, where did this come from? The divine, I would imagine.
It's interesting because I meditate every morning. And so when I'm able to get up and just start writing, I think a lot of that energy flows through. It's just part that's there.
Mm-hmm. It is. You say dis-ease-ment in the body, which is disease. And that's what it is. It's dis-ease-ment. And you say our body is affected by our thoughts and our emotions.
It's by both. And there's a lot out there that says it's only by thought or it's only by emotion. But
Right.
the emotions that we feel cause our thinking to go in the direction that it goes. And so I think both are in play. And it's only when the body's tried to tell us, or spirit has attempted to tell us that we're offline or we're going crooked or backwards, or we've got to rethink something, or however you want to look at it, that it needs our attention to look at something because our thinking and our emotions are not getting rebalanced. Okay. And they're out of what I want to call the normalcy range. Okay. And so therefore it's causing hardship. That if we're not listening, if we don't go back into prayer or into self-reflection, then it's really important. And the body will say, hey, I need to get your attention another way because you haven't listened to me spiritually. You haven't listened to me mentally. You haven't listened to me, in any other way through your emotions. So therefore, we're going to get your attention this way because you cannot ignore the body.
Well, and that's true. I just got over being sick and I was pushing myself too hard. And it's your body's way of saying, slow down.
Yes, that's what I think colds are all about.
Mm-hmm.
Every year I wash my hair and I run out the door. And then however it goes, it goes. And everybody, especially when I was living in Germany and it was snowing from, October to May every year, everybody would say, oh, you're going to catch a cold. And I would just say, that's not my belief system.
Yeah.
My belief system says you catch a cold when you're too busy and your body's trying to slow you down.
Right. And you talk about that. I don't want to jump ahead too much on this because I've kind of got an order set up. I want to start out with, if you don't mind, I don't have the whole book yet, guys. I can hardly wait to read this. You can pre-order, just so everybody knows, December 20th on Amazon. But I want to get this across. You say these are three things that really cause people to be ill. The need to be right, predicted on our need to be in change and in control. Our need for attention and other people's approval, and rampant emotions based on being judgmental. Wow. Each one of these was right on.
I look at those three as our major things, what causes karma. And so your body is warning you, look, you're going in a direction that you don't really choose to go if you're being judgmental, if you so need to be right for everybody. Because what's right for one of us isn't necessarily right for others. And it's that in the Bible and in other major books, it says the worst sin or the worst thing that we can do is to infringe our will on another or take away another person's free will. And so when we have the need to be right, to me, that's another way of saying, I want to take away your will to think about how you want to do things and what's right for you, because you need to be able to do things on what's right for me.
And what I think, I'm going to read just a minute. This is so well written. I have to tell you, I underlined this. Okay, so we're going to take each one if it's okay. So the need to be right and in charge and in control. The need to be right stems from the fear of things going askew. That makes sense. Yes. And that nothing works unless the individual takes power to ensure it's done right I used to be like this. Years ago, I can look back now and see, it's a control thing, but really it's a fear. It's a fear.
It's a fear underneath that if you don't do it, then it's not going to be done right because nobody else has got to do it as well.
Yes.
That's located in the letter C, by the way, Nancy.
Well, I've overcome it.
And that's because it's a little c. When it's a capital C, it's really hard to overcome. Really hard.
Okay. Well, I want to get through these couple and then we'll move on. There's so much in this book and I only have the first chapter. So our need for attention. Okay. So this one, the second producer of disease is our need for attention. This is something too. And I've seen this. We are taught at a very early age that when sick, you get the most attention. This is when the majority of parents spoil their children. Children get to stay at home with the parent and are waited on and fussed over. And then people carry that on until their adulthood.
Right. You want more attention, you get sick, and then everybody gives you the attention. Now, I grew up with a dad who's a doctor. So when we would get sick, the first thing my dad would say is, I think I have a shot that can cure that. So we all knew that we were going to get a shot in the derriere if we were staying home from school, whether it was a fake shot or a real shot, it didn't matter. We knew we were going to get a shot. So you better be pretty sick before you're willing to do that.
I've seen this in people and it's sad.
Yeah.
I will say that it's a sad situation that's how they operate.
But we're taught that. I don't blame people. We're taught from that early age, this is how you get attention.
God, that's so crazy. All right. The third one is rampant emotions based on being judgmental. This is something I overcame a while ago, a few years back. Most against ourselves. Ooh, see, and that's it. Many may say that they are not emotional or that they have their emotions under control. And then you go in to talk about politics, but emotions and being judgmental. I mean, that to me, honestly, is the most powerful thing right now that's dividing our world, is the judgment of each other.
Well, it's the judgment on choice, but that our choice is better than somebody else's choice. And that's a judgment. And what's right for me may not be right for you or anybody else. But all of us need to have the right to live our lives the way we see fit, as long as we're not harming another in the process.
Well, but we need to change that because people are, I see it all the time, and I talk to people and once you're aware of it, once you're aware that judging others is not cool and then it comes back on you, you really stop doing it. And then you also look at things a little differently where you think, well, you don't know why they're doing that, right?
Right. And I look at it also and I think it's fear. If you look at how much fear, especially in the last 2 years, that our media has constantly gotten us into, whether it's true or not true, whether what they're reporting has any factual basis or not, it doesn't seem to matter. It's like, how can we elicit fear? And if you look at even the TV shows, how they're incorporating the latest fears into all the TV shows, it's like, now you got to be afraid of this and now you got to be afraid of that.
I know, I've noticed that. We got to go to commercial break because I want to use this for the podcast. I have both of her books, Know the Name, Know the Person, Know the Name, Know the Spirit. Now, the one we're talking about today is Know the Name, Know the Health. And it's by Sharon Lynn Wyeth. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and I'm here today with Sharon Lynn Wyeth. We're having a great conversation about her new book, Know the Name, Know the Health. All right, I'll just ask you. So you say Nancy, I'm going to have to go ahead of here on my notes, but you say Nancy is, let me find this. How do our names affect our health? Here we go. So names provide clues on where our body has its weakest links. So your name on your birth certificate informs you of genetic dispositions that your body has inherited, while your first name indicates that you may create for yourself by your current habits. Your middle name indicates if you were born with a physical challenge. So let's just start. So the last name, what does that do?
The last name is what you're getting through your DNA, what's prevalent through your family.
Okay.
So for an example, a lot of people have an O in their last name.
Okay. I do. Mm-hmm.
And that represents diabetics.
Right.
So if you have an O in your first name and your last name, it says you're getting this through the family lineage. So you already have a predisposition. So it's very easy to register as pre-diabetic your entire life, even if your habits are wonderful, simply because you also have the O in the first name. But it's easier for you with habits to also accrue and become a diabetic. Now, if you have an O in your last name and you don't have another O in your first name, then you could still register pre-diabetic your entire life, but you're not really going to get it unless you're out of your way with the sugar and the whatnot, with the habits. But you already have that predisposition. So isn't it nice to be aware?
Yeah, I like that.
So anything in the last name is your predispositions. You're already predisposed to go in that direction, but you don't have to. Just like, for an example, I have an O in both my birth last name and my first name. And so I have tested pre-diabetic for over 30 years. Well, I'm not changing any habits. I never get any worse. It's just that that shows up in my lineage, that I'm a carrier of that. So that's your last name, what you're carrying through the DNA. And it usually shows up every other generation.
Every other generation. Okay. And the first name, okay, so your first name, hold on, I'm reading your thing. Your first name indicates what you might create. So what would I create for myself? What's an N? What's an N?
Okay, so I don't have all of them memorized yet.
Oh,
but
I'm like, come on, Sharon.
I have a lot of them memorized. So I memorized all the combinations first because they're stronger. So the AN combination in Nancy is immune system.
Yeah, exactly. Boom, bang. Yes.
Okay. So people that have an AN need to always be doing things that strengthen their immune system, because that becomes their weakest link. And that's like what you can create for yourself in this lifetime with your AN is you've got to watch that immune system. Yeah. And as long as you're taking care of it, the rest ought to take care of itself.
That's true. Now let's go back to the middle name. The middle name indicates if you're born with a physical challenge. If it's not one, then you can avoid as you brought it in with to make sure you have specific experience. I don't understand. Explain that.
Okay. So some people are born with Down syndrome. Some people are born being a diabetic type 1. Some people are born with something that's incorrect with them. Okay. With their bodies. That shows up in that middle name. Okay. So that's because you came in to say, I need to learn what this illness represents, and I need to get over this. And the coolest part is, if you can understand where the thinking is, where the emotions are, where the balance is off, and what lesson or experience, I like the word experience better than lessons, what experience it is that your soul chose to have or have you come into more understanding with. When you can accomplish that, that dis-ease-ment or that distortion in the body disappears because there's no more reason to have it.
Right. Now, when I get your book, and I go to look at my middle name, do I go with the first letter? How do I determine?
It gives you all the combos in the middle name. And how the book is written, it literally says, here's the disease or the ailment for, this letter, this combo for the first name, or what it represents in the middle name, or what it represents in the last name, what letters go with what disease or ailments, because it's not the same. Like it's not always the same for the first name and the last name.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But they're not always. And then further on in the book, it literally will say, if you had this combination or this letter, this is the emotion, this is the thought, this is the correction.
See, that's what we need, because it's all created. And I just want to get this across, because if one part of our body is out of balance, then it shows up in disease. Is that right? Like if our emotions, or if if we're holding on to something, or if we haven't released, all that shows up in the body. You say, because there were two people, I know you talked about this. Here we go. I want to talk about this. Sherry Ashara's work declares that all disease stems from emotions, while Louise Hay's work states that disease comes from your mental thoughts. But you say it's both.
It is both.
Right.
It's got to be both. Because how do you separate your thoughts from your emotions?
Right.
You feel a certain way because you already have a belief system, and therefore something's gone against that belief system, and that's why you get that emotion. And once you have that emotion, it comes back and it says, do you want to change your belief, or are you sticking to it? They're intermingled.
And when something happens in the body, that's your body telling you that you need to work on that emotion and your thoughts and your thoughts. Yes.
Right. Because a thought rethunked becomes a belief. You keep thinking the same thought, then pretty soon it's a belief.
Right. Okay. That I thought was interesting. Yes. You keep thinking the same thought, then it becomes like you create this whole deal.
Yes. We create the whole deal.
And so
Nancy, I'm already working on the 6th book,
which is Change Your Thoughts, I'm sure.
It's literally on belief systems,
which is reprogramming, right? Reprogramming your thoughts.
And to get to the truth of how we create our world and all the lies that we've been taught, like the law of attraction, and they give us the first 2 steps and don't finish it. And it's just, there's so much. But anyway, the next one's going to be all on beliefs.
I agree with you on that one because the law of the attraction, they don't tell you that you have to feel it.
And they don't tell you that if you don't have passion towards it, you're not going to be creating it.
That's right.
And then you've got to take action. You can't just sit there and say, okay, put it in my lap.
Doesn't work
You
like
know.
that.
Right. And the coolest thing about the law of attraction that they don't teach is that you have to have gratitude once you receive it, or you don't get to keep it.
That's how the universe works. I have to say, I need to write a new book, but that's why I wrote my first book, Wake Up, the Universe is Speaking to You, because these are the signs that the universe gives us. And if we start to pay attention, like you've paid attention, then you start to realize all this stuff.
Well, you can live the life of your dreams. I mean, how
Mhm.
often do we give ourselves away because we want somebody else's approval, or
True. True.
or we've been taught that it's better to give than receive, right?
Well, yeah, that's what they say. It's better to give.
Well, then who are you going to give to? Because then nobody wants to receive. I mean, there has to be balance. There's balance in all things. I think that's what Buddhism was all about, is there's a balance between
Mhm.
things. Buddhism, they talk about the middle way. Well, I think the middle way is really balance.
I agree.
Where's that balance in giving and receiving? And there's joy in both,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
and you look sometimes at different marriages and you think, how did she get him? Or how did he get her, type of thing. And it's, guys really like to please their women as a whole.
Mhm.
But women have to be able to receive, and joyously receive, and gratefully receive, because then that gives our men pleasure in giving. And yet at the same time, we've been taught it's better to give. And so we're not good receivers.
That's true. I'm not a good receiver either. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I notice it even on my own radio show when one of my guests will compliment me and I'm thinking, okay, waste of time, waste of space. I don't like this. Let's go on to the next
You're
question.
right. You're right.
It's like,
We tend to kind of downplay it. We downplay it.
right. And it's like, okay, get over it already. Let's get on, and
Sharon, you're
so
right.
we have been taught not to receive, that it's better to give. And so there's so many misteachings. And that's what the next book is about, is all the misteachings and what the real ones are for how the universe actually works versus how we've been taught it works.
Right. Well, I think it's awesome. You talk about, and I want to talk about this, illness may originate in the spiritual body, not just in mental or emotional bodies. You say Daskalos warns us misuse of the etheric vitality is the cause of disease in the physical body, which of course means the opposite is also true, that the right use of etheric vitality brings health to all our bodies, physical, emotional, and mental. Therefore, Daskalos has declared a researcher of truth. I like this. A researcher of truth does not have to be afraid of germs and viruses. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Why you can walk outside with wet hair,
yeah,
every single day and go, just like the COVID. Okay, let's just go there for a minute.
Okay, we got 2 minutes.
I'm impervious to the COVID.
Me too.
Okay, absolutely impervious. I have been out in public a lot. I just had a blood test taken as part of, they're trying to figure out why I faint sometimes. Okay, I can take a bite of something and black out. So we're trying to figure that out. Okay, like what do I not want to see is how I look at it. If I'm blacking out, I'm not looking at something. Okay, so
maybe you're allergic to something.
Well, you wouldn't respond that quickly for an allergy. Okay, as fast as I don't even have to swallow and I'm out.
Wow.
So anyway, so they're doing a series of these tests and the guy says, my doctor's fabulous. And he says, well, just as a safety precaution, let's see if you've ever had COVID and you wouldn't recognize that you had it. And I thought, no, I would recognize if I had it, because I recognize anytime something goes a little bit off in the body. But anyway, so we do this blood test and it comes back, no. Of course, she's not had it and she's not whatever. But I look at it and I think, but my belief system says I'm impervious to this. So I'm not going to attract it. And the belief system that goes with COVID is I want to belong to a group. I need more friends. I need to be group oriented.
Well, you got lots of friends. You got the COVID. We'll talk more about it when we come back. I'm here today with Sharon Lynn Wyeth. Her book books are called Know the Name, Know the Spirit, Know the Name, Know the Person. I actually got my daughter one of these for Christmas this year. She doesn't know it yet. And then her new book is called Know the Name, Know the Health. This is Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Sharon Lynn Wyeth. We're talking about our health, our emotions. Sharon, I was talking to you. You write a little bit in the book here about the misuse of etheric vitality. And I was mentioning to you that I've been taught, or I've learned recently, that a lot of venereal diseases and things like that were created by humanity because of those nasty thoughts that we have sometimes. Those dark thoughts created a lot of the diseases that go on. I know this is not a pretty thing, but I thought that made sense to me.
Well, the coolest part about all of that is if we create it, we can uncreate it.
Okay, so how do we
We
do
are
that?
powerful. If we blame somebody else or something outside of ourselves for what's happening in our bodies, then we're saying we are a victim, we're powerless, and we have to live with this thing.
Right.
Instead, saying, I created this for whatever experience I chose, whatever learning I wanted to have because of this. And therefore, because I created it, it served its purpose, and now I don't need it anymore. And literally, that's what you call those instantaneous healings, is the minute the light goes off and you go, oh, don't need this anymore. The body says, oh, now we can clear it up. We've done our job. We got the message across.
Isn't that something? So it's really it's the way you think. And I think the same as you. When I go out into the world, I'm not concerned that I'm going to catch this virus, because even though I have low immunity, I just put white light around myself, and I'm not worried about it. I think you draw it in when you worry about it.
I think you draw it in when you have similar vibrational that's caused by the thinking skills. You take that every disease or disease-ment has a vibration.
Right.
And when you cause your body to match that vibration, voila, there's manifestation. Yeah. And so the real game is bring your vibration higher than the vibration of whatever the disease-ment is. The disease cannot exist in that higher vibration. It drops out. And then if you want to relax and lower the vibration instead of sustaining it at that height, that's okay too.
Really good information. Yeah.
I think that's why our medicine is going toward vibrational medicine in the future.
I agree with you, because we are energetic souls. And that's why it's really cool that you wrote this book, because you guys, it's what you think. And, you hold on to it in your body. You don't even realize you're doing it. But because we're energetic, our thoughts and our emotions go into our cells, and that's where it's held, just like you said, until we let it go.
Right. And it's held in the T cells. The spiritual is held in the T cells. Sometimes when the doctors look at something and they say, oh my gosh, we don't know if it's this or that, or we don't seem to be able to cure whatever it is. Okay. That's when I say you go to the spiritual body and you say, where is it being held in the spiritual body that requires releasing? And that's usually in that middle name. It's what we came in with. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That our system wants to release, but we're holding it. And it's being held literally in the spiritual body. And if it doesn't get released in the spiritual, it will show up in the mental, and then the emotional, and then the physical.
Right.
But when the doctors can't figure it out, I suggest you go straight to that spiritual body and you say, where is it held in the spiritual? Mm-hmm. Just like when I recently, I had that last blackout and I broke 2 bones in my leg and I broke my ankle.
Oh gosh.
So the doctors were like, okay, how do we fix this? And I'm saying, and it was slow on healing, really slow on healing. And I thought, I haven't healed it yet in the spiritual body. So the physical body's having a hard time trying to heal because I haven't done my work on the spiritual yet.
You're right.
So once I was able to go, and once it's like, hello, dawn on me, right?
Yeah.
Then I was able to go into the spiritual body through meditation and look and see where the disease was being held. And we have an etheric light body, and you can actually see the breaks in the light body. And then you say, okay, where was I not listening? What is it that I'm choosing to learn from this experience? In other words, where's my silver lining?
Right.
I'm always asking all the time, where's the silver lining in this thing I created?
Right,
right. I did this to myself. And the minute I took responsibility and said, okay, I did this to myself. I got that from the beginning, but where's the silver lining? Oh, it's landing in the spiritual body. What is it that needs to shift or change? And the minute I got that, my healing started in the physical. And before that, I was just maintaining time.
And that's what people need to get. And, honestly, and I have a medical intuitive that I called recently for being sick. And she's wonderful because that's what she does. That's her thing. She can tune into the body and do that kind of stuff. And we can all tune into our bodies too. I guess you don't have to call somebody, but I do like the medical intuitives that's all they do. I mean, it's kind of cool. But what she did, and I'll just tell the audience, is really she just connects to your higher self. And then, you tell. So it's perfect to ask yourself because your body knows what it needs. Isn't
Well,
that interesting?
You can do muscle testing too.
Sure.
Because that way you're talking directly to your body and
Right.
you're bypassing the emotions in the mind that could get in the way. And so
Mhm.
you're doing the muscle testing. Is it this? Is it that? Is it this?
Mhm.
Would this
Mhm.
benefit? Would that not
Or even
benefit?
dowsing. You could douse.
Yes. Yes, that's another way of doing it.
Uh-huh. You talk here, and I just want to bring this up here. Electromagnetic pollution is something else that has adverse effects on our bodies, our cell phones, our household wireless systems, smart meters, cell towers, high tension electrical tower systems, computer screens. Talk a little bit about this.
Since we are energy and all of these EMF waves affect energy, we are
Mhm.
being affected by all of these different things that are constantly bombarding us to have our energy go in different directions or to scatter us.
You think that's on purpose?
You know, I would think maybe not initially, and
But it is.
maybe we all thought that the benefits outweighed the risks, but there's things we can do. I happen to like tachyon, and I have a tachyon shield over my bed. I have a tachyon on the back of my phone. And then I have crystals, because crystals will absorb that too. I have at the base of all my computers,
Me too.
crystals. And then periodically you've got to clean your crystals so they can keep absorbing that energy. But there's ways of countering it. But I think we just need to be aware that this is coming in. This is part of our everyday world anymore, and not to fight it, but just to balance it out, because everything's got to come back into balance. So your crystals, your tachyon shields, there's different ways of balancing that out.
Right. I've got my selenite. I'm going to if you guys have not heard me talk about selenite, it doesn't have to be cleared, which is kind of cool. And this is what I have on my computer. And I have other things too. I put some onyx on there, but it really does. I have selenite in every room in my house. Like you, I have you have your thing. I put this on my nightstand. I have it in my mattress. I have it everywhere because it absorbs, like you're saying. I've done this for years now. Several years I've done this, but I think we all need to get to that point where we're aware that we do need to do something, because being on the phone all the time and the energy, it really does affect us physically, And
it does. And I don't think a lot of us are conscious of that because we're not that in tune with our physicality or our emotions or our mental. We think we are, but a lot's going on below the surface.
What else do you want to tell us about? You say you're talking about the names here, and you say you give some examples. Is there any more examples you want to give us today? Like, I don't know.
Well, every part of the body represents something. Okay. So like in chapter 3 of this book, I go through the parts of the body and what it represents. So like when I broke my bones in my legs and my ankle, I immediately went to my own book and I said, what did I come up with for the ankle? What was I shown? What did research show me? And so the ankle is saying that you're not bringing enough joy and love into your life. You're not doing enough playtime. So, and it's like you're not nurturing yourself. And that's what that ankle represents. And so I go through in the book and I say, here's the part of the body that represents, because not only is there's a disease, it's what happens to the body where it's located that's very important. Okay. And what does that mean? So that's also in there. The other thing is that when we're feeling discomfort, it's usually centrally located in some area of the physicality. Okay. Like you feel the pain in the stomach or you feel the pain in the arm. Okay. And what I want to recommend doing is to first, instead of trying to ignore the pain or have it, whatever, it has to get louder and bigger and worse than to get your attention. So you want to pay attention when it's very small still. And you want to say, I see that it's located in this area. So what does that area represent? And then invite the pain or the cells that are carrying that energy to spread throughout the body. And that's counterintuitive because most of the time you're saying, no, we want it out of the body, out of the body. But I look at it as if you're carrying 100-pound suitcase in one arm and one hand, that part of the body is literally feeling all that weight and all that, and it's getting out of joint. But if you could spread and put on a spacesuit that was that 100 pounds, and so all of your cells, had 1 pound or 2 pounds each, then it's going to seem a lot lighter and easier to manage. So I want to take the energy of whatever the pain is, wherever it's located, and invite it to spread itself throughout the body so that every cell can experience this vibration and learn from it what it came to learn from it. And then we can dissipate it faster and go poof, because every cell only has a little bit it has to poof instead of one area having a huge amount of poof that needs to be done.
That's interesting. We got one more segment left today. You guys, I'm here today with Sharon Lynn Wyeth. I love this book. All of her books are good. Know the Name, Know the Spirit. Her new one, Know the Name, Know the Health. This is Nancy You're Out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy You're Out. This is High Road to Humanity. This is our last segment here with Sharon Lynn Wyeth. I'm so excited about this book. You guys, if you want to get in touch with Sharon, give them your information. How do they find you if they would like a...
The easiest way is through the website knowthename.com, and you can actually schedule your own appointment that way and decide how long it is. And it's even broken down on the website to what do you get in a half hour, what do I cover, what do you get in an hour, like that.
Right.
And then you can schedule yourself for what works on your time zone.
Right. I think that's wonderful. I'm so glad that you came on today. This book needed to be written. It really did. Talk about some of the things that we hold, in our bodies and how it can affect us.
Okay. So during the break, we were mentioning the breast cancer.
Right.
Okay. Or anything that affects the breast.
Right.
So the breasts really represent the need to be right. Okay. And when we get breast cancer, we are saying that we would rather die than admit that we've made a mistake or that a correction is needed. And it's also a lack of nurturing of ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Because breasts represent the nurturing, that's where the babies feed and everything else. And that's where you're nurturing others, but you've got to be able to nurture the self. And sometimes nurturing the self says, I've got to admit that what worked for me in the past and what I thought was correct in the past may not be correct for me now, whether it's the main relationship I'm in and it no longer works, or I'm no longer feeling loved. I happen to believe that in a marriage ceremony, instead of till death do us part, it ought to be we agree to be together as long as love is present. Period.
I like that. Yeah, because for some reason, I had a lady on my show recently, last week, and she said the statistics in the US for a marriage is like 8 years. That's it.
And that's kind of sad in a way.
I'm like, wow, that's it. Yeah, because it's like, how come people can't stay together? But what you said makes a lot of sense. A lot of times the love is gone, or maybe you grow apart.
Or the reason you came together is completed.
I like that. And you've done your stuff and you shouldn't feel bad about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting that they say it's 8 years. My marriage went 13 or a month shy of 13. And at 8 years, we should have separated.
I've always heard that 7 or 8 years. Yeah, but that's what it was. That was the statistic that she gave us from.
But I believe that you marry for better or for worse. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And he got more and more violent until my body got the recipient end of that. And when I could figure out how to walk again, I said, I'm taking the kids and leaving. I get it now. What did I have to put myself through to admit that, hey, time was up?
Sharon, the same thing happened to me. And it was really hard for me to leave and walk away. I could have stayed and been miserable, but I'll have to tell you, when you're in a marriage that doesn't work, it affects you energetically. And me being such an empath and doing this work that I do, it affected me energetically, which eventually it would have killed me.
Well, I think it does kill us. And if the woman doesn't want to leave for whatever reason, especially because of the belief, what would the family think? Or
what would they think? Oh my God.
I was the first one to get a divorce in my family. Okay. all of my sisters were happily married. You know, the people that they had married into, those families, everybody was happily married. I
Yeah.
married a person that was out of 10 children. We would be the first divorce. I mean, the pressure was on not to do this.
It's the whole failure thing. Yeah. You don't want to look like a failure. That's what it is, isn't it?
And more than a failure, it's the need to be right. I was right in this decision to marry this person. I was
Yeah.
right in what we were doing or whatever. And eventually we got to get to the point where we just say, it worked beautifully for this long.
Right.
Something went awry,
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, our karma was done. I mean, I now know from looking back why we got together, what the karma was and the whole bit. I mean, I've pieced that all together. And I look at it and there was a time period where my kids literally said, Mom, don't go back. Don't ever
Well,
go
because
back.
they knew, because they saw it. They knew.
They were
Yeah.
like, don't go back. And yet,
Yeah.
bless my children, they have wonderful relationships with their dad.
Yeah, because some kids don't come out of it well. I have a friend and her husband cheated on her and she left and neither one of her kids want to get married because they watched what they went through. It's really hard because all this stuff really affects your kids. You don't even realize it, you know, but I guess it does but your kids came out great and that's great. You know, I think it's wonderful that we talk about these things. Now, give us another example of, you know, something in the body and what it's caused by. I only because I used to always look at Louise Hay's book every time. Now I'll look at your book that said, you know, if I had something wrong, I would look up her book, like if I had a wart or if I had something weird, you know, and then she would say what it was. So kind of give some examples.
And Louise Hay, God bless her for really going in this direction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she would then give an affirmation because here's your thinking off. And if you say an affirmation often enough, your thoughts repeated become beliefs. Once it's a belief, then the body can accept it.
Right.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
why she gives you an affirmation where I think you're going to recreate it some other way simply because your belief now may be on that specific, but if you didn't get to the understanding underneath it and the feeling that went with that understanding, the next time that feeling hits, something's going to happen with that belief and then something else is going to go wrong.
Now, Sharon, if somebody's ill, are you able to look inside the body? Do you have that ability?
I do not have that ability at this time.
Okay.
Now, what's really interesting though, when you ask that, I was in Colorado and giving workshops and one of the families there, the man came and said, can you come and help my child who is blind, deaf, and dumb, and we have learned to communicate with him, but he's in a lot of pain. And can you be of assistance? And, you know, I channeled. And so I went saying, I'm uncomfortable with this. And my host and the dad said, hey, if nothing happens, but at least come try, you know, come do your best.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, I don't like to be put on the spot like that. I like to do things that I know I'm competent in, you know, and if I'm not competent, I like to do it privately until I can get competent.
But the messages you get are from the divine. They're from a higher vibration. So, you know, they're right. Yeah.
So, well, as long as we're clear and that our own stuff's not getting in the way. So anyway, we went and I did my prayer that gets me moved out of the way from years of meditation and it gets me into that space. And what I thought was interesting was here, this boy was blind and he was deaf, so he couldn't see what I was doing and he couldn't hear what I was doing. But when my team would say to me, okay, do this or do that, or we want you thinking this way and doing this, we're going to move this energy this way, he could feel it. And he would say, wait, too much is coming in. Wait, too much is going too fast. Wait. And then the dad, he was communicating with the dad because they had figured out how to communicate. And the dad would tell me and I'd stop. And then after a while, the dad would say, okay, try again. And so we'd start up again. Again, his son could not see or hear, but could feel the vibrational difference when my team was coming in and working through me on him. And I just thought that was amazing and everything. But then, of course, I had a long talk with my team on the etheric side afterwards. And I said, there's a lot of pressure. Then everybody's going to want to be healed all the time. And I know Jesus did that, but is that really my role?
Yeah. Well, no, it's true.
I'm not comfortable doing this.
You know? Well, you got to do what's comfortable for you. You know, I think I was like that when I first started to learn to do the hands-on healing. And now I send people energy all the time. And I love doing it because I just think it's awesome. And it's not coming from me. It's going through me. You know what I mean? It's going through me. I'm just a conduit, but it's fun because, if somebody's having a bad day or they're not feeling so good, and they don't even need to know you're doing it.
Right. Well, and that's what I think prayers are for.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing what's called prayer work.
Right. Because you're getting that energy.
Because you're sending that energy. And my prayers always say, to the amount that the person deserves, can handle, and is in their highest and best interest.
Right. And I'm going to leave this. This is with this last thing today before we get out of here, is that I've been doing the Ho'oponopono deal. Yes. And I'll tell you, it works. And it's, you guys, it's when you think of somebody who you're having a riff with and you say, I love you, please forgive me. I forgive myself. I'm sorry. Thank you. And I know it sounds like, oh, that doesn't do anything. It absolutely does.
Well, and I think the key in there is that you're asking for forgiveness, which I think is very hard for people to do, but you're really forgiving yourself, because if you cannot forgive yourself, then you're carrying it and it manifests in a different way and it keeps coming out.
And then we have disease.
And then we have disease-ment. Exactly. And I think a lot of it is when we can forgive ourselves, then it's easier also to forgive others, because we're always harder on ourselves than we are others. And I want to redefine real quickly the word forgive. So to me, forgiveness is, I am for, not against, giving the entire situation back to the universal laws and having it work it out that way. That's it.
I love it. Sharon, thank you. Thanks for coming on. I can't wait to get this book. I'm just really excited about it. This is Sharon Wyeth. The book is called Know the Name, Know the Health. Okay, you guys, it'll be available December 20th. All right. If you want a psychic reading, go to my website. I'm still doing readings up until the week before Christmas. So go to nancyyourout.com and you can click on the book button and book a session with me. Thanks again for coming on, Sharon. It was a pleasure. You guys have a great week, and thanks so much, and take care, and God bless. Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyourout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.